All right, so now we're going to talk about Django templates, which are a very powerful concept in Django. And before we do that, I want to discuss our restaurant example. So when you order a pizza from a restaurant, the chef doesn't hand make the crust and chop up the tomatoes for the sauce and chop up the cheese and the ingredients right when you place the order. They have some kind of pizza blueprint or template. They'll have the crust pre-made and they'll have the sauce pre-batched. So all the chef has to do is throw it all together and add your ingredients. Because if you think about a pizza, you can break it down into its different components, like the toppings, the cheese, the sauce, and the crust. And it would be pretty annoying and not very efficient if every time you ordered a pizza, the chef had to hand make the crust and let it rise and chop up the tomatoes and hand make the sauce. Instead, they have the crust pre-made and the sauce pre-batched, so all they have to do is follow the blueprint, throw it all together, and throw on the specific toppings that you want. And that's all that Django templates are. They're HTML blueprints. So they'll be very similar to HTML files. They will actually be .html files, but Django will do a little bit of processing before they get sent to the user, and the final output will be a pure HTML file. And if we look at an example of why we would need to do this, let's look at the web page for blog post number 1. So similar to when we discussed URLs and views, it would be super annoying if you had hundreds of blog posts and for every single blog post you had to hand code all of the data. You had to add in the title and the content and create a specific HTML page for hundreds of blog posts. That would take you so much time. So templates let you create a blueprint like this one right here that has a menu. And the menu will probably be the same across all blog posts. So it'll have like your logo and a link to the homepage, a link to all blogs, maybe the about. But then it will also have some dynamic information specific to the blog posts. So it'll have the blog title, in this case blog number 1 title, and the blog content, in this case blog number 1 content. And Django is able to translate this into a pure HTML file that has the menu, the specific blog title, so blog number 1 title in this case, and then the content, the blog number 1 content. But this could be applied to any blog post. This could be blog number 2 title or blog number 100 title. And this is only one file. And these Django templates have what is called a Django template language. And they give you access to a number of tools that really supercharge these HTML files. So one of them is the ability to add variables. So to use variables, you can type 2 curly brackets and then the name of the variable. So in this case, blog underscore title. And in a normal HTML file, this would just render out as text. You would actually see the curly brackets and you would just see blog underscore title, which probably isn't meaningful at all. But the Django template language understands that you're looking for a variable, and so it will try and find the blog title variable and inject that value into the HTML file that it creates. Another tool are what are called tags, and this is the ability to add logic to your template files. So you can add if statements, for loops, and to use tags we use a curly bracket and then a percentage sign to open the tag, and then the same thing to close the tag. And so in this case we're saying if has a title, which could be a Boolean variable. So if this is true, then we can do whatever we'd like. Then maybe we could show the blog title variable. You could also do things like if a user is logged in, show them the log out button, or if they're not, show them the sign up button. And finally, we can add what are called filters. And to add a filter, you use the pipe symbol and then the name of whatever filter you want to apply. And Django has a lot of filters available, and their documentation has them all listed out. In this case, we're using the title filter, which will capitalize the first letter of each word. So it's perfect for this blog title. It'll make sure that the first letter of each word is capitalized. And the nice thing about filters are that they don't change the data in the database or anything like that. They just manipulate how it's displayed to the user. So these tools are very powerful and let you create one file that can handle lots of different data or logic. So you don't have to create hundreds of files for each blog post or separate files if a user is logged in or not. And let's look one more time at the example through the restaurant lens and then through Django templates. So with the restaurant, the chef already has a boilerplate for every pizza they're going to make. They have the crust, they probably have the sauce, and so all they have to do is add the toppings and bake it, and it's ready to go. And similarly, with Django, you can create one template file, which is like a blueprint, and specify what you want to include, and inject whatever is dynamic. And then before the user receives that HTML file, Django will translate that into a pure HTML file with exactly what you want to display. So it's a very powerful concept, and it's one of the great tools that comes with Django. Amazing. So now that we understand more about Django templates, let's actually dive into our project and get them implemented for ourselves.